Today is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017, and on behalf of the Commission, we'd like to wish you all a happy and prosperous New Year. Madam Secretary, if you'd please call the roll.
Ms. Casavon? Mr. Lauren? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Mr. Fitzmaurice? Mr. Davis? Mr. Doherty? Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of the Commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the Commission, we ask that you fill out a speaker's card and submit it either to staff and they'll bring it up to our Secretary. Each side will be provided 10 minutes with 5 minutes of rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it further, we would ask that you discuss it outside of the building, as if you go into the back foyer area, it does echo into the chamber. This time, we would ask you would stand for an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Willie.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed on our lives, not just right now, but Lord, you blessed us throughout this holiday season, from Christmas through this new year. And we thank you for the beginning of another blessed and very prosperous new year. Grant us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding tonight to be able to deliver and make decisions that's in the best interest for this government and for our staff and for the people that we serve. In all these blessings, we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a housekeeping note, if you'll notice behind us, there's a clock. That clock is also on the Commission's podium here, as well as on the Speaker's podium, so that you will identify, or you'll be able to identify the remaining time. And again, there are instances where the Commission may allot additional time. And again, we keep everything very equitable, but you can identify that both at the podium and behind us with our latest technology. I do understand that when the alarm goes off, it is fairly loud. We were advised by a few people of that. I don't think any of the commissioners have experienced it yet, and we'll find out. Thank you. This time in our packets are the minutes from our December 6, 2016 zoning meeting. We'll entertain a motion or any questions. Commissioner Davis.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comment? Please vote. Motion carries. Staff, are there any cases you wish to postpone?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Number one on the agenda, zoning case ZC 08-01-007.
Any others?
And that's the only request we have this evening. A request to postpone
For 1 month?
for 1 month.
Zoning case number ZC 08-01-007, major amendment to a PUD, Plan Unit Development Overlay. The parcel, 92.61 acres. The petitioner, Gulf State Service, Mike Soche. Owner, Lucky 7 Trust, Versailles Business Park, LLC, Versailles Land and Development Company, LLC. The parcel is located on the north side, the parcel is located on the north of I-12, west of Holiday Square Boulevard, south of Versailles Subdivision, S15 and 16, T7S R11E, Ward 3, District 5. Postponed from the December 6, 2016 meeting. Is the petitioner here? Representative of the petitioner? Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
I have a question for the staff. All of this, if I'm reading it correctly, would be frontage across towards the highway, towards the interstate?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Casabon.
I'll make a motion to postpone.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone, second by Commissioner Lauren. Any further comments? And this is for 1 month. For 1 month. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, this is a postponement requested by the developer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Motion carries. At the beginning of each calendar year, it's required under our bylaws to vote for a chairman and a vice chairman. As such, I would respectfully ask for a motion to open the agenda for the specific purpose to vote for a selection of a chairman and a vice chairman. Commissioner Casabon?
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? Please vote. It must be unanimous. Unanimous motion carries. We now have the agenda has been opened specifically for the purpose of voting for a chairman and a vice chairman. This time we will entertain a motion for the election of chairman. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to, if you're willing, to put forth the nomination of Dave Manella as our chair.
Second.
So moved, second by Commissioner Davis. We have a motion by Commissioner Richard naming Commissioner Manella as chairman for the 2017 term, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote. Commissioner Davis, you're up there. Yeah. Your light burned out. Motion carries. We'll now entertain a nomination for Vice Chairman. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, if Mr. Doherty would consider running again, we'd like to have, or I'd like to make a motion that we elect you as the vice chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Richard nominating Commissioner Dougherty as Vice Chairman, second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. Congratulations, Commissioner Dougherty. As the chairman, you have the authority to appoint parliamentarian. I would respectfully ask Commissioner Richard to serve in that capacity again.
Second.
Thank you. Continue with the agenda. 2016-408-ZC, existing zoning A4A, single-family residential district, proposed zoning AT1, animal training housing district. The parcel 6.15 acres. Petitioner, council motion. Owner, St. Tammany Humane Society, Inc. Parcels located on the south side of Harrison Avenue and on the east and west sides of 6th Street, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. The existing building located on the site is currently occupied by the St. Tammany Humane Society. The objective of the request is to bring the site into compliance with the appropriate zoning classification and for future development. The staff recommends that the request for AT1 Animal Training Housing District be approved.
Thank you. The petitioner?
I'm Matthew Crane with the Jones Roussel Law Firm. We represent the St. Tammany Humane Society, and we are in full accord with staff comments. This case comes to you by motion of Parish Council. The Humane Society owns two adjacent tracts south of Harrison Avenue that they have had for nearly 50 years. The Humane Society has operated their operations from the westerly tract for several decades. It is in our view that the property was inappropriately zoned during the 2008 comprehensive rezoning. This matter was originally on y'all's November agenda. At that time, we mistakenly believed that the Humane Society was a government organization, and we were requesting for zoning of PF1. Once we learned that the Humane Society is a private organization, staff had come to the conclusion that AT1 was the appropriate zoning. The Humane Society would like to have the property zoned consistent with its current and future potential use. Therefore, we respectfully request that this commission approve the zoning change. If any of you have any questions, I can answer any of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. A motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon. Any further comments? Hearing none, please vote. Motion carries. 2016-470-ZC, existing zoning, A4 single-family residential district and HC2 highway commercial district. Proposed zoning, HC2 highway commercial district. The parcel's 1 acre. Petitioner, Diana and A.G. Lowe. The owner, Diana and A.G. Lowe. The parcel is located on the northeast corner of South Street and Cherry Street, being 430 South Street, Slidell, Ward 9, District 11. Staff?
Although the 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses, staff is not completely opposed to the request, considering that the site is directly abutting a highway commercial uses to the south. However, a less intensive commercial zoning category would be more appropriate in order to create a more gradual transition between the abutting residential zoning to the north and the existing commercial zoning to the south. The objective of the request is to allow for the construction of a parking lot for the adjacent reception hall. At this time, staff would like to request that the HC2 highway commercial be denied. However, we're not strongly opposed to it, but would suggest maybe just a lower zoning category.
Thank you.
Hi, Council. Thank you for hearing me today. Happy New Year's to y'all. I'm speaker for the Antebellum House. We're a 30-year wedding reception hall on South Street, located right on Highway 190. We've been in compliance with the city, the council, everything for 30 years. Great business. I appreciate y'all working with us. We're here is because we just bought an adjacent lot behind us. There's several other reception venues that offer southern beauty, I guess, in regards to wedding form, where we were able to give outside ceremony site. We're not in regards to it would be usufruct of, I guess you would say, an outside ceremony site, gazebo, just a nice, southern plantation. In the my drawing, I was looking at putting a 25-foot buffer around, because you got to look at it sitting on 2 properties. So I was going to put a 20-foot buffer in regards to this, more or less gutting the inside out, being able to give a little more charm for the outside, but permitted the weather in South Louisiana. So it would never really be any compliance with noise ordinance or anything like that that would harm any other local residentials. But that's pretty much where I stand. So, I mean, we were to have outside permit to do this, which we call it, or if the event they were to do toast or any other small events in regards to ceremonies. That's why we requested the proper zoning.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition to the request? Seeing none, at this time I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, sir. So the objection of the request is not just to build a parking lot. Is that correct?
Well, in compliance based off of the council's needs, off of one is we want to preserve the oaks. The oaks are beautiful. One is what green space y'all permit us to allow. I mean, not completely gutting it and open it, just more or less adding a beautification to what we already own, and then offering an outside experience and not disturbing the back. But I mean, like, we have a lot of demand for outside, ceremony sites, and that's the one attribute that's hurting us, and we're trying to find ways, especially with the parish reassessment of the property taxes and all that stuff, trying to give more to offer to make our establishment more beautiful, more to offer so that we can sustain, the changes that have gone with the community.
As of right now, do you need more parking space?
I do, some, yes. But, I mean, we weren't completely using the whole usufruct of the property. Like, I had a drawing, which I can get done, but it was really...
We don't have that drawing.
I apologize.
Yeah,
But it was
that it was just it's request to allow the construction of a parking lot, which could have been done under a different zoning classification. Is that correct, staff?
But we weren't completely using it as a parking lot.
The idea of having, I know you have Highway Commercial 2 up front, and adding the Highway Commercial 2 in 1 acre in the back is a tremendous amount of Highway Commercial 2.
Yes, sir. But, I mean, like, I'm not in any way, I'm just really just adding space to, like I said, perform outside services / some outside parking.
Would they need Highway Commercial 2 for the other things that he's requesting to do besides the parking lot?
Yes, maybe as a solution is to split it in half for doing HC2 or a portion of the property to HC2 and then go to another zoning for the parking lot like HC1.
Thank you.
Commissioner Casabon.
Aurelius Lowe, the owner. I think what he's trying to get across is we use this as excess very seldom, but occasionally we have a few extra cars. Rather than put them in the street, we'd rather have property where we can get them off of the street. Another thing is we want to create a buffer zone. Not that we're extremely loud, but occasionally you have a band. And so by having this additional 200 feet behind you, and if we leave 50 feet of natural wooded behind that, it gives you a greater buffer zone. We wanted to do some landscaping, put in a gazebo, and a brick patio where they could have outside weddings. I'm sure you've been to Vintage Court, and there's another place in Covington that does the same thing. It's just to enhance the landscaping that's already there. We're not going to build anything permanent per se, other than a gazebo and a brick patio. But the problem with not having a liquor license, if the bride and groom and the bridal party want to toast I'll have to tell them you'd have to come back on this side of the property line to do a toast. So this way they'd be able to toast right on the gazebo, you know? And occasionally, we probably will do a crawfish party or something like that because they're going to want to drink beer. We've had several requests from Stennis, a few other companies to do crawfish parties. I don't want to do them in the building because it's carpeted. I don't want crawfish on the carpet. But we could do it outside with picnic tables, and if we had a temporary setup where we could serve beer. So that's basically what we'd use it for. It really, most of the time, would be a really nice park area, you know?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing is we were willing to concede that, I guess you call it a coverture, where if I own the property, which I do, which would call it, I would be able to leave that property and cause conflict on a residential highway, I guess you'd say road. We were willing not to put a coverture there and have the only in and access out of that property would be through the front of the existing acre we already own. Second of all is I would follow any suggestions or rules in compliance, like with outside events, that I wouldn't even have a need for it past 9, 10 o'clock. You see what I'm saying? So there's no harm to any of the residential. It's not that kind of demand, especially with.
Again, what you're suggesting in favor of the residents around are deed restrictions, which that would be between you and the residents, as far as deed restricting, as far as access and other things that you want to do.
Yeah, but I'm saying I wouldn't even do that just to convenience. One is for the property, and two is not inconveniencing them. I'm just saying with the use of Frux, I would just concede that right and not put access to that, to disturb what's already going on back there. You know what I'm saying? I don't go back in that neighborhood, but I mean, like I said, I would be all in compliance. Really, like I said, it's really just for a need for outside ceremonies, just to give me more of an attribute to make the business attractive in regards to that right.
Okay, let me allow the other commissioners to ask some questions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let me.
No, let me, in all due respect, let me afford the other commissioners.
Okay.
When you're addressed, then you provide some information to us, okay?
Sure.
Thank you. Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, what's your hours of operation when you say that you have weddings and so on?
I mean, we open till 2 o'clock in the morning, but the only one time of year I've ever done that, I just do that for New Year's, and it's tailored to an older population, and the party's done at 12:30. Most of my weddings really is Roman Catholics that have a tendency of having late because they can't get into the service with the church. So usually they go 8 to 11, 8 to 12. We're done shut the noise off by 12 o'clock.
Just a standard.
I would say average. If I had to put an average on the year, I'd say they're probably 7 to 10.
Right. When you talked about the oak trees, that whole area is pretty wooded. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, just you said something about some large oak trees.
The building the pre-existing property that the building's on and that one, they have oaks, but they have a lot of rubbish trees in there, some pines.
You would have enough room to do what you need to do without disturbing the bigger oak trees and
yes,
stuff.
ma'am.
And to me, I see that as, because I do visualize Vintage Court, that's part of the ambiance of having extra land and stuff. I feel like there's not enough of these venues that are safe and that people have access to here in our parish. With you stating that, and you have to understand that you can say you do all of this, but once it's zoned, you could do whatever is within that zoning and so on. But I view this as an extension to enhance this property owner's business, and I really don't have a problem with the zoning, to rezone it.
Okay.
I think Mr. Richard wanted to make a motion.
Commissioner Drum?
I know this area because it's just up the street from where I live, and I've seen a number of events go on at this place. There have probably been a million young men who have committed suicide and gotten married. And so you might as well let them have the back of the trees back there to hang themselves in as well. So I have no problem with this zoning.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we'd like to find a way to help you do what you'd like to do. The concern, I think, that Commissioner Davis was bringing up is if we zone the complete property HC2, tomorrow the facility could go away and there's a big chunk of land that's HC2. There could be something else there that maybe not quite what we intend to do in a residential area. My question to staff, is there a way that we can, and this was Jimmy's question, is there a way that we can accomplish what they need to do and have multiple zonings on this property?
There's a possibility for the owner to agree to rezone only a portion of the property. And if I'm not mistaken, it was stated that they were willing to leave a 50-foot buffer along the residential, so maybe a possibility to reduce the size to keep a 50-foot green space that would be zoned.
Do you understand what we're trying to do? Is, in other words, if you do HC2 and we take both of these parcels combined and God forbid it burns down and you sell it to another entity that could do something that maybe we don't like. But if you turn around and just carve that buffer out and around the residential area with a different zoning, I think you can accomplish what you need to accomplish. And I don't know how the other commissioners feel about that.
Well, on the right side is, I don't know what their property is actually zoned. It's a driveway. That's all it is a strip about 50 foot wide, and it's 400 feet deep. I don't know what they would ever use it for.
Well, somebody owns it, and it's zoned.
Yeah,
What is it zoned?
it's a driveway.
It's zoned
a
8
house,
foot.
500, 600 feet in the back, and they use this driveway to get to that house.
Well, can I ask?
Certainly.
Yes.
Answer my question.
If the acre is 200 by 200, is that what I'm correct?
Thereabouts.
I mean, well, we already had intention of doing a horseshoe of, say, 25 foot. Could you, say, do whatever, 30 foot in the back, which would keep that buffer from the adjacent? And there, beside this lot, the 1 acre, there's another acre, the one we bought, and then there's still some land right there that
Another
goes.
acre directed. It's not used. It's raw land.
Do you own that land?
No.
Okay.
But it's
So
not for sale.
But the person that does own it, it is zoned residential.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's why I'd say we're willing to leave a 50-foot buffer in the back.
Do any of the commissioners have a suggestion here?
I have a suggestion where I think we could meet everybody's needs. Instead of the entire 1 acre behind your current commercial, how about just the half an acre and leave the other half acre A4?
Wait.
Why would you need the whole thing
Would we be able
AC2?
to use it to park additional cars as long as we kept a buffer?
Well, I apologize. What about in correspondence to Councilman Jimmy Davis would be half what I requested and half that buffer that you were saying where it's AC1.
Highway Commercial 1? Is that what you're saying? Highway Commercial 2 in the front half, and then Highway Commercial 1 and Highway Commercial 2 in the front?
Staff, what do they need for parking?
Well,
1 or 2?
if it would have just been for parking, we could have gone to HC1, but we need HC2, and I think that to make it a lot easier is we'll go to a layer of HC2 and a layer of HC1. But if you want to leave a 30-foot buffer in the rear, that would remain zone residential. if
Yeah,
willing to do
I'd do a 30-foot buffer.
And so you'd propose
I
HC2 to the
propose
buffer?
HC2 for the entire parcel except for the
50-foot or
50-foot
30-foot buffer?
not 30.
And just leave it A4?
I'm sorry, you said
Yeah, the
30 or
buffer,
50?
right.
Just leave the buffer for A4?
Just so the public understand.
50
you
foot,
can-
50 foot's not different, not much different from 30 foot
No.
if you already got 200 feet.
Thank you, sir.
Is you can have multiple zonings on one parcel. So
Yes, sir.
that's what the commission is.
Property, we can go back 150-foot highway, and then the last 50 would be,
Would be A4,
Would be A4 residential.
which you may be
So-
able to do something with that.
So what the
actually.
commission's discussing right now with you is, sake of argument, it's 200 feet deep.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
At 150 feet, or up within 50 feet of the back of the property line.
I'm appreciative.
Would be HC2. That 50-foot buffer would remain residential as it is zoned.
That would be fine.
That would be, thank you.
Okay.
That would work out.
Commissioner Willie?
No, that was it.
That was it?
I'll make that motion
Okay.
with those amendments.
So motioned as amended. Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Willie. Just again, to restate, the motion is to rezone up to 50 feet of the back of the property line. HC2, that last 50-foot buffer, if you will remain its existing zoning.
That sounds great.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
Sir, can it be put on record that, so that later for clarification, with the legal description of the property, that the portion that Commissioner Davis wants be addressed, that it's the northern part of this lot, on the legal description, just so that we're in compliance, you know? Huh?
Yeah, staff will get a plat with all of that properly recorded. They'll give you what the requirements will be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Motion carries.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. 2016-480-ZC, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District, proposed zoning, A2 Suburban District, and rural overlay. The parcel, 14.66 acres. The petitioner, Jacob and Amy Schnecknader? Pardon me? Schnecknader. Excuse me. The owner, Jacob and Amy Schnecknader. The parcel is located on the east side of Plantation Street, north of Shady Lane, south of Oak Lane, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses and may also include agricultural uses in low-density areas. The objectives of the RO rural overlay is to allow for agricultural uses and single-family residence and encourage the maintenance of the rural countryside. Staff does not have any objection to the request considering the large size of the land and that the site is rural in character. The staff recommends that the request for an RO rural overlay designation be approved.
Thank you. The petitioner?
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jacob Schicksnyder. When my wife and I first met with the planning department, we purchased this land with intentions of building a home site on the land and also getting into more spread out and have more of a farming, small farm operation, so chickens and bees and small vegetable garden. When I sat down with the planning department, I explained kind of our plans, and they suggested that we obtain the zoning change to meet these needs. One other request that was made, or part of our plans, allowed us to put a storage building on the acreage prior to building a home site, and it is 15 acres of wooded land. It needs some work. Land clearing has started, but there's still a lot of work to do. So I'm looking to put a storage building on the property to store tools, tractor, implements, and other things to work the land. And our intention is to build a home at the end of 2018, 2019. So a couple more things. Councilman Sharp, the District 2 councilman, I've spoken with him, and he approves or supports this request. I've also met with 7 of the neighbors. You see the letters from them signed and dated. They support the request and the future plans for use of the property. Just a quarter mile north of the property is the urban growth boundary, and from what I understand, the urban growth boundary, if you're beyond that, you have rural overlay already applied there. So being the fact that we're so close and we've got the support of the council and the boundary neighbors, I ask for your support of this request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to support the request? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, the petitioner's request is appropriate. I'll move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Casabon?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, Mr. Schexnayder, on behalf of the commission, I'd like to apologize for the way our commission chairman bungled your name.
I apologize.
You have to excuse him.
It is a doozy. It took me to the 4th grade to learn
You
it.
should see my hieroglyphics.
It's all,
I sincerely apologize.
no problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Lauren.
He tries to make it harder.
That's right. We have a motion, Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, Mr. Schexnayder, on the, apparently there's an existing building on there, a 40 by 10 foot.
That's the building and the location I'm proposing to put on the property. There's no building currently.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any further questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve, second by Commissioner Casabon, with an apology by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
2016-46-ZC, existing zoning, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. Proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District, the parcel .5 acres. The petitioner, Jeffrey D. Shane, Jones Fussell LLC. The owner, BBC Petro Holdings LLX, or is that a C? C, okay, it's an X? C. LLC. Parcel is located on the southeast corner of Louisiana Highway 59 and Viola Street, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with commercial uses. The site is currently developed with a gas station and a convenience store which have not been in operation for more than 6 months. The objective of the request is to bring the existing building and gas station in compliance with the appropriate zoning to allow to reopen the business as it was previously operated, and staff would like to recommend approval.
Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. Wish all of you a Happy New Year, and congratulations to Chair and Vice Chair for taking their seats once again. I represent the owner and petitioner that seeks HC2 zoning for this existing convenience store / gas station located at the southeast corner of Viola and Highway 59. The case has some significant issue that is similar to some other cases I've had before you in recent months, in that the property was zoned C2 in 1984, which was a comprehensive rezoning year. From the best I can determine from reviewing the records of this particular facility, it has been in existence and operation since at least 1995, which means it has about a 22-year history that we know of. Interestingly, in 2009, during comprehensive rezoning, for reasons unbeknownst to any of us, it received a down zone, went from C2 to NC4. And of course, NC4 does not support convenience store gas station. My client purchased the property in July of 2016 and began a renovation refurbishment process. The store had been closed for some time prior to that. And as you may know, if a business or property has a use that is not a permitted legal use and you have non-operation for more than 6 months, you can lose your grandfathered or non-conforming status. So that's the position my client finds himself in that he bought what had been a 22-year gas station convenience store. He made the good effort and continues to make good effort to want to refurbish, make it nicer, not trying to increase the size of it, not trying to increase the number of pumps or anything else, but maybe a blessing in some ways, because I would prefer to see his business be on a piece of property that's zoned properly for what he's doing, as opposed to continuing to operate in a non-conforming grandfathered status. So with that having been said, we would appreciate your consideration of recommending to the council that this half-acre parcel be rezoned from NC4 to HC2. If any of you have any questions or comments, I will be glad to address them at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public, and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I used to actually go to this little convenience store quite a bit, and since it has been remodeled and stuff, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't rezone it to highway commercial too, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Drum.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Dougherty.
Mr. Shane, comments say has not been in operation for more than 6 months. Do we really have an idea how long it was not in operation?
Probably since first quarter of 2016. Is that a pretty good guess?
Okay.
I'd say around first quarter. First attempts
So
we tried.
it hadn't been 10 years or anything like that?
Oh, no, sir. We actually tried to establish the grandfathered status, believing that the refurbishments that we were doing was still, in fact, acts of operation. The administration for the parish respectfully disagreed and believed that because we weren't actually open and selling to the public, that we lost our status, which we understand and respect. I'm not complaining. So hence the need for the rezone.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Richard.
I know we have a motion and a second, but I just wanted to point out to the commission that in any other time, we would have fixed the zoning mishap that had resulted from the comprehensive rezoning. Understand if that would have been brought to us a year ago when it was still operation, we would have fixed it. So I am in support of it as well.
Thank you. Any further comments? No, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. 2016-47-ZC, existing zoning, A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, HC1 Highway Commercial. The parcel, 1.817 acres. The petitioner, Norbert Wines. The owner, Manuel and Catherine McCoy. The parcel is located on the north side of Indian Village Road, east of U.S. Highway 190 East, being 388 Indian Village Road, Slidell, Ward 8, District 13. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. There is an existing warehouse on the property which has been used as a woodworking cabinet shop since 1984. The objective of the request is to bring the use of the existing building into compliance with the appropriate zoning. At this time, staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval, considering that the site is surrounded by residential uses and undeveloped land, and staff would like to recommend denial of the request.
Thank you. The petitioner?
Good evening. My name is Norbert Wines, and I represent my company. We're a wood flooring company, and I'd like to use the existing 2 buildings as a storage unit. And that's actually all we do. Most of our work we do in the field, and so there wouldn't be any noise or any other well, there is no noise or any other activities going on or so in there, except for we would be storing material there.
Thank you.
That's it.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Are there any who wish to speak in opposition? We have 2 current speakers cards, Jerry Whitman. Mr. Whitman?
She'd like to speak.
Okay. If you would, please. That's fine. Yes. Elizabeth, please come to the podium.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have a packet that I have prepared for each one of you. It contains letters from residents in the neighborhood vehemently opposed to any status change from a residential rating, zoning, to highway commercial. I understand after looking up what is highway commercial and what it does, the purpose of it is to provide access along major collectors and arterials designed to provide services to a portion of the parish. Well, I guarantee Indian Village Road is not an artery. It's a little capillary. And it runs for less than 2 miles from Highway 90 to the West Pearl. It is our only ingress-egress from the River Oaks area. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association. In the packet that I prepared for you, there's a map that indicates how precarious that little strip of road is. It has been zoned residential for at least 2 decades. The areas that were grandfathered in, the few businesses, there was a bar and a restaurant right there by the public, I guess it's a public landing, where people bring their boats. Well, that was destroyed in Katrina. It was never reopened. The business that this very nice gentleman would like to open, there has been no activity on that land, no commercial activity on that land for the last couple of years. So we in the neighborhood and the property that you would like to develop your company sits in between 2 neighborhoods, the front part of River Oaks and the old back part of River Oaks. There are no other businesses. It is Indian Village Road. It's a protected road in a protected neighborhood. So I speak in opposition to the proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Whitman. I live at 190 East Pearl Drive in the original River Oaks subdivision. I'm a member of the River Oaks Homeowners Association, ROA, membership committee. Additionally, I'm involved in regulatory issues and special projects. Our membership consists of some 160 upscale residential family properties, many waterfront. Regarding the proposed Indian Village Road zoning change, I have personally visited with or contacted by phone 15 of our members regarding the zoning change. The consistent and unambiguous positions were, as our President Beth DeWinter stated, we do not understand why this is a viable issue. It was decided early in the 90s. It threatens the ambience and culture of some 160 plus an additional 90 homes that are involved with the Holly Ridge River Oaks, which is adjacent to this property in question. A total of 250 residential homes serviced by a single access egress street, i.e. Indian Village Road. Potentially threatens the sensitive waters of the Bloom Bayou, negatively impacts property values, and Indian Village Road, quote unquote, road is a misnomer. It is not a road. It is not a highway. It is a narrow single lane each way street, weight sensitive, without shoulders, and sided by mostly deep and often wet Louisiana ditches. Additionally, the street is unstable during seasonal flooding, is unusable, I'm sorry. The street can and will be compromised by ongoing commercial activity. We all are adamantly opposed to permitting any commercial activity on Indian Village Road or the subdivisions, and respectfully implore this zoning commission to deny any change to the existing A3 suburban district zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to support the opposition? If so, please raise your hand. Thank you. Mr. Weins, you now have an opportunity to rebut 5 minutes.
Well, what we did so far was actually cleaned up the property, and I'm aware that that we're in the middle of a residential area, and the property was previously misused. There's all kinds of trash in the bayou, and I was trying to be a good neighbor, and I'm not doing anything more than any of the other residents do by driving a truck once a day there, unloading some things, and that's it. But I guess, I don't know. I mean, there is 2 existing buildings, and there used to be a business there, and I had the intention of buying that property and building a house in the back, but I don't know. It looks like it's not going to come through. So,
Thank you, sir. Any further comment from those in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
According to longtime residents in River Oaks, this particular property at one point was used to repair engines. And when I first bought into the River Oaks area, and this was after Katrina, there were large buses and tractor trailers and other heavy machinery on the property. So I have no knowledge of it being used as a woodworking facility, but I do have knowledge of it having other uses that involved heavy machinery.
Thank you. This time I'll close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
A question for staff. In the literature, you said that this used to be a woodworking cabinet shop. Is that what it's being used for currently?
actually, just as a storage unit. We are a wood flooring company. We install sand.
You come to the podium and speak into the microphone, sir.
Actually, we're just using it as a storage unit. All we store in there is like antique flooring, antique, any kinds of antique wood. That's what we're collecting there from. All of our work is on the job site. We don't install any flooring there, and the sand and finish and whatever is all done in wherever, New Orleans or here in Tammany Parish. So we don't do anything there at the moment except storing and cleaning up the whole area. That's what we've done so far. And I was probably on the property in the last half a year, let's say 30 times or maybe 50 times, driving with my truck there, unloading things. And basically, I don't know, that's all we do, basically use it as a storage unit.
Why are we even trying to rezone this if he's grandfathered in currently?
Well, in 1984, there was a building permit issued to construct a woodworking cabinet shop. There's been the same activity going on until 2008, legally, according to the sheriff's office. After the end of 2008, the occupational license was moved to another address. If I'm not mistaken, the owner moved it to his personal home. So since 2008, no occupational license has been issued at that particular address, which no longer, we don't have any evidence of any official business taking place or being registered, which is no longer grandfathered in as a business.
I understand completely now. Do you understand, Ms. Weiss? I'll make a motion to deny.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to deny, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comment, Commissioner Willie?
I was just going to ask, how long have you been using the building? Since 2008? When did you start?
Half a year.
Okay, so you just got there
We
yourself.
just got there,
there's,
right.
There's a lot of vacancy and occupancy between 2008 and now.
The gentleman who had he recently died, and I think it was empty for about half a year or so before we
Thank you.
started renting the building. And I have a question. Is there any use, basically, when this is denied, I basically have to move out with what I have there, right? There's two shell buildings there, and if this is a residential area, whoever is going to buy this, does he have to tear down the buildings to make that residential, or what kind of possibilities do you have to use this? Can you use it privately or residential, or what do you do with the property like that? It's a nice property. It was misused, of course, but it's a nice property there.
Staff, do you have the examples of A3 existing zoning, what the property can be used for?
It has to be used as a residential use. We understand it's an existing building, which we cannot stop if someone buys the property. If they want to use it for their personal use, we can't stop them from using it, but it's a residential use.
So it can't have any commercial functionality whatsoever. It's got to be privately used for the resident only.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments of the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to deny, second by Commissioner Dougherty. I remind the commission that a yes vote is for denial. Please vote. The motion to deny passes. 2016-48-ZC, existing zoning, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. Proposed zoning, A5, two-family residential district. Parcel, 2.265 acres. The petitioner, Mary and Robert Weldon Crawford. The owner, NC Investments, LLC. The parcel is located on the east side of North Tranquility Road, north of U.S. Highway 190, Ward 9, District 11. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses at a variety of densities. Staff does not have any objection to the request, considering that A5 two-family residential zoning district would allow to create a transition between the A3 suburban zoning district on the north side and the HC2 highway commercial zoning district on the south side. The staff recommends that the request for A5 two-family residential be approved.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Yes, good evening.
Could you state your name and address for the record, sir?
Weldon Crawford, 30402 Aaron Drive, Lacombe. Appreciate, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, the ability to be here to explain our intended use for this property and the reason for the rezoning. We currently have a NC4 neighborhood commercial zoning and asking for an A5 two-family residential. Our intention for this property is to build a small senior living community on the property. Excuse me. Following the Housing for Older Persons Act of 1995, which is a 55 or older community, we're asking for a two-family residential zoning. We would like to build 8 duplexes, which is the maximum density that 2-acre plus piece of property can hold. That'd be 16 rental units, and that's our intention. We live down the road from this property. My wife and myself, we live in the community, so we're part of the community that is nearby this. So we have a vested interest in what goes there and how it will be built and what functionality it'll serve. We believe there's a need for senior living in the area, and that's why we would like to invest in this and build this property on this location. I'll reserve any time for questions or later comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Is there a spokesman within your, please come to the podium and state your name and address. And again, we will ask for a show of hands for those who are in support of the statements.
By default, my name's Mark Bryan. I am a resident of the Uranium Park subdivision right off of Tranquility. I am speaking in opposition to the rezoning request. My understanding of the A5 rezoning request is that from the website here, it permits the placement of two-family dwelling units, and the maximum density provisions that reads, the maximum net density permitted on shall be 8 dwelling units per acre. And I interpret that dwelling unit to be a duplex, which would potentially allow, since there's 2.26 acres in this parcel, would potentially allow 18 dwelling units, which would be duplexes, potentially 36 families. That's the way I read the language in the permit. NC Investments, LLC, is requesting rezoning 2.265 acres on Tranquility Drive to A5, two-family residential district. Surrounding neighborhood is all single-family residential, and the people I have spoken with are against the higher density dwelling units. Rezoning this parcel will allow, as I read it, up to 18 two-family units to be built, adding 36 potential families to North Tranquility. This compounds the hazards of the already dangerous intersection of Tranquility, North Tranquility, and Highway 190. I believe just within the past 2 months there have been more than 2 significant accidents at this intersection. I'm not aware right now of any similar higher density dwelling off of Highway 190 between Bayou Castine and Mandeville all the way to North Shore Boulevard and Slidell. I drive this highway regularly, and I cannot recall seeing anything other than commercial or NC4 type units or single family housing. In addition, several of the residents of the region of this area have expressed significant concerns about drainage. I apologize that I don't have duplicates, but I've got pictures of flooding from this weekend at this site and Tranquility. So we have existing draining issues currently. Granted, this is not a very large parcel, but it's not going to help the drainage. It will significantly increase the traffic at this intersection, and NC Investments LLC's stated purpose is certainly admirable, and I can appreciate the stated intent. However, once this property is rezoned, NC Investments LLC or subsequent owners aren't bound to the statements here in this meeting. They have to operate within the limits of the rezoning, which, as I read it, is once again up to 36 families on this site. And that is a very significant concern for the people that I've spoken with. I've lived in this area for over 10 years. I've owned property there for 25. My wife's family has been in this area for over 50 years. And we are not anxious to see higher density dwelling units in our neighborhood. And I respectfully request that the rezoning request be rejected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I've been there
If-
30 years.
Excuse me, ma'am, if you could There, thank you. If you would state your name and address as well.
Carol McGregor, and I live at 31210 Lydia Street. I am right behind the property. I have been there 30 years. I was a third resident there in that little subdivision when it was getting developed. And also, there is some property that's right behind me that when I went back there after they was cutting, it had already been surveyed, and I went to go see where the survey marker was, and it was not there that I could see. And so they have cut some of the trees and stuff, shrubbery, whatever, that was not on their property. I don't think, it is true that it does flood there extremely bad. And that it is true that there is accidents right there at that little corner. And it's not a wide street. And I just don't feel like, I don't want people coming in and, having bad people coming around my little area that I live, because I'm right behind it, just about. The property they're talking about is, from, say there, and I'm, say, approximately, well, my actual property, I say 75 feet this side of what their property is. And I don't want it. I know it may upgrade the value of the property land. I don't know that. I don't know much about that part. So,
Order,
okay.
please. Oh, continue, ma'am. I just, for the
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Please continue.
Well, I understand that they're wanting to put, the 8, housing, 8 duplexes. But I know when you get duplexes, even if you got the elderly, some of them, have younger children, and they, come around, and some of them may not be as good people. I don't know. And I don't want my grandchildren, which is going to be living at my house, when I'm gone. And I want it safe. It's a little neighborhood. It's because I'm just, and it's quiet. After Katrina, I used to be the first house on the right as you turn down the street. But after Katrina, we did get some houses there. I'm mad that I did not buy that property to keep that from happening, but I didn't. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. This gentleman right here. Yes, sir.
I'm Paul Corona. I live at 3141 Shannon Drive, Lacombe, Louisiana. I'm very opposed to this rezoning. But one thing, my questions are, what's about sewage? What's about water? These units have to have their own sewage, their own water wells.
Sir, in all due respect, because typically the public will bring it up, this is a zoning case.
Okay.
When you're getting into planning and development,
okay,
is when the staff and if it goes in front of the commission, gets into drainage and gets into traffic studies and the likes.
Okay.
So right now we're pertaining to zoning.
Okay, well, I'm opposed to it because I live in Briar Lake. I pay heavy taxes on my properties, and I think it would be a devaluation of my properties and adjoining properties around there. It's a very dangerous corner. It's a very bad street, and it does flood. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll address this gentleman here, but you'll have less than a minute, please.
Thank you. Would you like the card? Thank you, sir. My name's Don Reamer. I live at 31185 Richardson Drive in Lacombe, which is nearby this property. I would have a question for the Right Honorable Chairman with respect to the land clearing permit. I had an understanding that you have to obtain one of these before land clearing can begin.
Respectfully, those would be issues addressed to the staff. We're here to discuss specifically the zoning component.
Okay.
You can address those to staff whenever
Sure.
staff
I am against the zoning request for many of the reasons that the other folks have enumerated. I would also draw attention, with all respect to the staff, I know they do hard work in all these efforts. There was no mention of a traffic study in their report for approval. There was no mention of a flood study in their recommendation for approval.
That would be correct. That's not part of it.
There's no mention of increased responsibility for police, fire, or other emergency calls to such units that may be built there. There's no mention of a reduction in property values to current homeowners. And also, there was no public input into their report, and I understand that's the reason for this hearing, but as you can tell, there's other people behind me here that are against this, and I think that many good reasons have been enumerated to describe that.
Thank you. Rebuttal.
Thank you very much. Let me just say, mostly to the members of the community, we all want the same thing. We really do all want the same thing. My wife and I live in Briar Lake. We go down Tranquility every day. We have in-laws that live in Briar Lake. They go down Tranquility every day. We do have a serious flooding problem there. It has nothing to do with this property. I'm an engineer, a professional engineer. I know exactly what the problem is. I've talked to the parish engineer a number of times, and we haven't solved that problem yet. Hope to in the future. Hope to get together with you folks to address the parish and solve that problem. We all want the same thing. I really believe that this is bringing something of value to the community, something of value to the area. I'd like to address some of the comments. I think the first one, one of us is reading something wrong. We worked with staff. I believe we're putting up 8 duplex buildings. 16 rental units is the maximum that we could put on that property. So it's not 36 families, it's 16 is the maximum that we could do. We're treating it as 2 acres, even though it's 2.265. It's 16 people can go on 2 acres of property. As I said, we do have drainage problems. That's been stated. We have serious drainage problems. But again, whether we build anything on this property or not, that's not going to fix the drainage problems. There's nothing there now. It's vacant as it can be, and we had flooding from this past rain. So building on this property is not going to make that any worse. Actually, it's going to make it better, because before we will build, we're going to go to the parish and raise hell to get something done about the drainage there. If you were going to spend money there, wouldn't you want to get the drainage fixed first? So let's all get together and do that. That's okay. Okay. Traffic increase at the intersection. It is a bad intersection. We need a light or something. I understand that. But I don't think that 16 senior living apartments would increase the traffic a great deal. That's just my honest opinion there. As far as cut trees on the property that's not ours, I'm not sure. We didn't cut any trees. We ran a dozer in there to clear some of the underbrush and small bushes so that we could see what we had and walk the property out. And we cut no trees, so we had no clearing permit, and we didn't cut any trees. Let's see. Traffic study, flood study. As I said, I'm an engineer. I understand the process for doing all the various studies and permits through the engineering department. We'll certainly take care of that. We have to live in the community with anything we build there. We want the exact same thing that these folks want. We want good, well-built community, good residential people in the community, and bring value to the area. That's what we're all about. That's what we're trying to do here. The name of this thing is Tranquil Place. It's on Tranquility. It's Tranquil Place Senior Living. That's what we're trying to build. I'm done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Opposition, 5 minutes of rebuttal. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name's John Garrity. I live at 60269 North Tranquility, which is directly across from this planned development. We talked about drainage problems before. The main problem with drainage out there is it drains from North Tranquility south toward Highway 190, which is the jurisdiction of the state DOTD. The parish has no control over the drainage on the highway. That's a state issue. As the water goes south towards the highway, it backs up and comes toward, the state of property, my property, which is flooded at least 3 times because of this. When they cleared the property in question, they didn't cut trees down, they were bulldozed. And every loss of tree is more ground that is sinking and could not absorb moisture. When they put a development there, they're going to have more area that's being covered by either concrete or a building, which is going to be more runoff. All the water runs into the ditches on 190 that flows south to, again, Highway 190, which doesn't drain out, well, if at all. The state, getting the state to do work on the highway in the budget crisis is next to impossible. So it's a big issue about runoff, coming from an area that's going to be developed, whether it's just numerous houses or townhouses or an apartment complex. It's going to be runoff. It's going to go to the same spot. There is no municipal drainage there. It all goes right into the ditches, right to the highway ditches, which back up and flood from the highway north. And I've been subjected to that several times over the last, since 95. I've been living there for 33 years. My wife has been living there for 55 years, so we're well aware of, the traffic increase, the flooding increase, and the problems associated on that street for all these years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else which would like to introduce additional information for the Commission's assessment that's in opposition? If not, at this time, I would ask again for a show of hands for those of you who are in opposition of the request. Thank you. This time, we'll close it to the public and we will bring it to the Commission. Commissioner Davis.
A question for staff. As far as the zoning goes, from the A3 transition to A5 and in the highway commercial too, that does sound good. There's no question about that. As of right now, and everybody out there now, the property is already zoned NC4. Something will be built on that property. That's, I think, something you need to recall that. Whether it's going to be a 8-dwelling, 16-family residential unit or a concrete office building, it can be built out there. Now, with that being said, if this is rezoned to A5 or we leave it at NC4, no matter what's being built out there or going to be built out there, it has to come to the planning department and they have to do it traffic impact analysis and also flood information, correct?
Well, traffic study will not be required because of the size of the property. However, they will have to meet all parking, landscaping, setbacks. They will have to provide a tree survey, maybe replant some trees if necessary, and they will have to have appropriate driveways, meet all the drainage requirements.
So there, on the planning side, there's an actual mission that we go through to do this, but from a pure zoning, it's the use. Now, I know Mr. Weldon came up and was talking about having a senior citizens home. Well, that's a great idea, no question about it. We need some in Lacombe, especially with people getting older and such. I do have some questions additionally to Mr. Crawford, if he wouldn't mind coming up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so based on the density of the property, you can have no more than 8 units.
Correct.
Okay, you consulted planning, and this is what they told you. So
Yes.
that's 16 families.
Correct.
Or 16 individuals.
16 individuals, correct.
These are one story?
Single story.
Single story.
Single story
Okay.
duplex.
I went out to the property and looked at the northern section of your property, and it looks like you didn't cut the very northern section.
Correct.
Or clean that out. That's a pretty large buffer coming off the residential A3 that's north, on that Lydia, I believe it's called?
Correct, correct. We left that buffer. That's not the backyard of the apartment, that's the buffer. The
buffer
backyard
itself.
of the apartments go from there.
Wow.
So we left it, we instructed, excuse me, instructed the clearer to leave a natural 30-foot buffer. It's probably more than 30 feet across conservatively.
Okay. As far as designing something for the elderly, of course, we have no control in that. You would have to come up to the planning department to talk about that.
Correct.
But since you've already met one of the largest ADA compliances, that it's one story and no stairs.
Correct.
That's a good section. I would recommend, if this gets passed, that when you come back to us, as far as planning goes, that everything's ADA compliant.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be a great marketing, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, that'd be a great marketing thing to do, to be able to get these elderly people who do need a place to stay.
That's true, and we don't know who will be there. We just know they'll be elderly. Elderly could be 80 or it could be 60. So.
Right. And it's going to flood.
Please, no, excuse me. Point of order. Anyone who has an outburst, you will ask to be removed from the room. Again, we need to remain and have proper decorum. If a commissioner asks you a question, then you can come to the podium and answer it. Otherwise, we respectfully request that you listen. Thank you. Please proceed. Okay.
And I think on that matter, as far as the zoning issue goes, I think it would be appropriate zoning for A5. I'll let all the other commissioners, if they have anybody else would like to talk on this before I make a motion.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Yes, on the senior living, I'm aware of a couple of senior living areas in the eastern part of St. Tammany. Are you going to restrict the age? You have to be at least such and so many years old to be there?
Yes, sir. This would be an age-restricted community.
What I've seen in some age-restricted communities is that all of a sudden we have grandchildren popping up because mother and daddy's not taking care of the kids. And are you going to have any kind of restriction on the amount of time these children can spend?
Absolutely, absolutely. We would have covenants of the community that would restrict that. That's one thing we don't want. You know, what we would want is just the elderly people living there. We understand they have grandkids. Understand they may have out of town children who have kids that may come in town for a weekend or something to stay with them. You know, those things you kind of have to plan for that.
Right.
But, you know, we don't expect, there won't be any children living there. Let's put it that way.
What age do you look at, 55, 60?
Well, again, the Housing of Older Persons Act of 1995 and the Fair Housing Act has two provisions. One is 55 and older, and the other one is 62 and older. Right now, we're adhering to the 55 and older exemption on that, I guess is what you'd call it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Jimmy, you made a motion to approve the...
No motion has been made.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Seeing none, please vote. Motion's denied.
Thank you.
Let's just fail. (2016-490-ZC). Existing zoning, A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, PF1 Public Facilities District. The parcel, 4.5 acres. Petitioner, Parish of St. Tammany. The owner, Parish of St. Tammany. The parcel is located on the north side of Brewster Road, west of Perilou Road, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. A portion of the property is currently developed with some St. Tammany Parish maintenance facility buildings. The objective of the request is to bring the remaining portion of the site into compliance with the appropriate zoning to allow for future development of the site with additional government offices and maintenance facility buildings. Staff recommends that the request for PF1 be approved.
Thank you. Is there a petitioner for St. Tammany?
I am
You are the petitioner?
representing.
Well, gee. All right, Helen, what you got? No conflict of interest on this one, is there? Wow.
Basically, a building permit was recently pulled, for new buildings to be built on the property, and it was brought up to our attention that the remaining portion of the property was not appropriately zoned. So we respectfully request that this zoning be granted to bring it up to standards.
Very good. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Thank you. For the benefit of the commissioners that are not familiar with the area, there are really two Brewster Roads. One Brewster Road starts at Highway 1085, almost at the Tangipahoa line, and runs to Highway 21. That's Brewster Road. And then from 21, it crosses over and it goes through the shopping center and it connects to the interstate, and that's East Brewster Road. And we've approved a lot of development on East Brewster Road, office buildings, Sam's, rooms to go, I don't know how many other businesses. There's a lot of commercial on that side. But if you go on the west side, from Highway 21 towards the Tangipahoa line, I don't know the length of that road, but I would guess it's 10, 12 miles, somewhere in that neighborhood. And on that 10 or 12 mile stretch, there are two buildings currently that aren't residential. In the 2025 plan, I sat through most of those meetings, and that whole area was supposed to be residential infill. I'm not speaking against this. I have a concern about it. One of the two facilities that are built on Brewster Road is the Parish maintenance barn. That's what we're talking about here. And it's 0.91 acres. The other one is almost a Highway 21, and it's a church. Other than that, everything for that 12-mile stretch is all residents. And this, the way this is worded, it's to allow increasing from 0.91 acres to 5.41 acres, future development for the site for additional government offices and maintenance facility building. That's pretty ambiguous to me. If we approve this the way it's written here tonight, there's nothing to keep from building another Coop Drive type office complex at that facility. And that's where I'm having a problem with. I just don't think that would be appropriate right in the middle of a complete residential large area. Okay? I just want everybody to understand a little bit about what's going on out there. Okay.
Commissioner Casabon?
Yes. I I don't see it that way in that you have to have these maintenance facilities because I want them to come fix a washed-out road or something as soon as possible, and so that's why they're placed in the communities that they are. And if they have a way of building buildings to kind of hide some of the trucks and the maintenance stuff in there, that I've seen them, that they need this to be able to build. And I don't see a Coop Drive. I understand what you're saying, but I don't have a problem with this. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? Please vote.
I won't fix it.
Motion carries. Conditional use permit cases, applications requiring review and approval of the use by the Zoning Commission before issuance of a permit are as follows. CP 07-06-096PR, use commercial building variance request lighting requirements. Zoning HC2 Highway Commercial District. Parcel 10,010 square feet. The petitioner 3Z's Real Estate Company, LLC. The owner, 3Z's Real Estate Company, LLC. The parcel is located on the west side of Louisiana Highway 21, North Oshner Boulevard, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The site in question is proposed to be developed with a restaurant and retail store or office. The requested variances consist of a waiver of the 2-inch shield for the site light poles over 3,000 lumens and an increase of the maximum height of the light poles from 30 to 35 foot high. This request was in front of you last month for the property, the adjacent property, and it's now in front of you to be requested for that site shown on the attached plan. It will not affect anyone on the north, east, and south side, considering that it's surrounded by the marketplace, Highway 21 marketplace development, except on the west side where it's abutting McDonald's, and the owner is suggesting to meet the requirements that the lighting on that side will be shielded to avoid light spill on the adjacent property. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval of the variances subject to the regulation and the following conditions listed on the staff report.
Thank you. The petitioner, please state your name.
Petitioner is Rosario Zapardo, and I am representing 3Z's in this issue. Y'all did approve last month. Thank you for...
Again, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, the address. I apologize. 79045 Old Military Road, Covington, Louisiana.
Thank you.
Yes, y'all did approve this last month, and basically we own the property around it except the McDonald's site, which we will use the shields to prevent any light from spilling over into that area.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public, bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Lauren.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Spritter, how many existing poles do they have now?
I don't have the exact number of that, but the poles that we're placing are the exact same poles that we started off with when we developed that Winn-Dixie Center. And the same pole height all throughout, and the same pole by the same company with the same bulb in it.
And was there any requirement that they have a variance in?
No, I don't believe, but I believe at the time that we used the 35-foot lights, there might have been a change that came after we had already started using the 35-foot pole.
I'm trying to figure out why we need a variance now.
Well, I was trying to figure that out too.
Helen, can you add any information for Commissioner Lauren?
Yeah, I think that we were in the middle of the transition in the regulation, and that was approved beforehand. That is my...
So there was a change going on. Commissioner Randolph, any
I
further?
just wanted to make clear that my motion to approve includes the variance.
Thank you. Commissioner Richard.
I'm going to second the motion. This makes, perfect sense. I think we ought to approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve with the variance, second by Commissioner Richard. Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Plan review cases, applications requiring review and approval of site plans along a planned district by a zoning commission are as follows. PR 15-04-003, use driveways, parking lots, and outdoor lighting for the running track, football fields, and tennis courts. Corridor, Highway 21 planned corridor, zoning ED2, higher education district, 13.15 acres. The petitioner, John Pousson. The owner, Christ Episcopal Church. Liz Towerman, senior warden. Parcels located on the southeast corner of Louisiana Highway 21 and Christwood Boulevard, Ward 1, District 1. Staff.
The project was originally approved for the site to be developed with a running track, football field, and tennis courts for the Christ Episcopal School. Petitioner is now requesting to add a new parking lot to accommodate the previously approved sports facilities during athletic events, 2 new interior driveways to the site giving access to the new parking lot, and to alleviate and reduce the traffic congestion on Christwood Boulevard when the students are being dropped off in the morning and picked up in the afternoon, and recreational field lighting around the athletic field. Staff does not have any objection to the above request. However, the new parking lot, driveways, and lighting shall meet all parish requirements, and the previously approved conditions for the running track, football field, and tennis courts have to be met as well. One of the requirements was to provide an as-built photometric, and it was provided to us later on this afternoon, so I have a copy that is circulating to you. At this time, after observing the lighting that's already installed, we don't see that there's any violation of the lighting ordinance for the parish. So at this time, staff would like to recommend approval, subject to all the regulation and the conditions listed on the staff report.
Thank you. Petitioner?
I'm here on behalf of the petitioner. My name is Ken Sprague. I'm an architect for FLWB Architects at 1404 Green Gate Drive in Covington, Louisiana. I'm here, like I said, I'm here to represent the petitioner. The plan, I think Helen covered everything that we're seeking. We're looking to put in a new driveway to alleviate the existing traffic congestion along Christwood Boulevard. It would also would be something that we were going to need to do in the future, as I understand through engineering that there are plans for Christwood Boulevard that would create a permanent entrance for Christwood Retirement Center off of Brewster Road and cut off the access from Christwood from Highway 21. There are some roundabouts that are being planned along Christwood Boulevard that would require us to create new access to the site to provide plan for pickup and drop-off of students to the campus. The other thing that this would do is we're adding some parking along the south side of the driveway to support any athletic events that would occur on campus or any events that might occur on campus. Also, as an athletic facility, there will be in the future probably events that would require lighting in the evening, and that's one of the things we're also petitioning for your approval. I'm going to save the rest of my time for any of your questions or any type of rebuttal.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Again, I would ask, you'll be given 10 minutes. So if you have a spokesperson, and we'll ask for a show of hands as well, or if you wish to add further information for the commission's consideration, we would request you do so. Please state your name.
Yes, thank you. My name is Gary Giordano. I live at 324 Memphis Trace in the Natchez Trace subdivision adjacent to the property of Christwood Church. And I'm not necessarily opposed to this development, but we do have concerns about the lighting overlay into the residents that live adjacent to this property. We have concerns about the noise and possibly some drainage. But specifically understand that the staff did receive a copy of a lighting plan that was not available to us prior, and we did not have any way to understand whether or not that lighting plan confirmed that they would actually meet the staff's recommendation. That was our biggest concern. Some of the residents, when the lights were on, have had serious lights ingress into their homes, coming in from their back windows, and that's been quite a concern over the property values, specifically with residential homes adjacent to the property. So that's our biggest concern, is the lighting, and whether or not those requirements that the staff recommended would actually be imposed and confirmed prior to the actually permit being issued.
Staff, you wish to comment on the information?
Yes, the information was provided, and as I said, I had a plan circulating, and it meets the parish requirements.
And I guess the other concern is, how do you confirm whether or not the lighting shields are adjusted per their plan? I know these are high-poled lights that have shields on them, and seems to be some sort of adjustment, and there is any way to confirm that those adjustments are made such that there is no light being broadcast outside their property boundaries as per your recommendations of the staff?
We have had someone who went on the site, one of our planners, went on the site and he observed the lighting. According to our regulation, it does not state exactly which angle it should be aimed at. Of course, we haven't seen, what it looks like when the lights are on. However, I had a discussion with him, Mr. Cleland, before I left the office, and he stated that, at times when you go to a field, it may meet the foot candle regulation. However, the glare, when it shines on the ground, then may reflect further. So that might be shining into the backyard. We may have to make some more observation. There may be a way where some of the lighting can be angled a different way to help, the spill over the property line. However, it's been determined that at this time, there's no violation of our ordinance.
Yeah, so that's just our concern about whether or not those requirements would actually be met and confirmed. Oh.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Hansen. I live at 942 Grand Turk Boulevard, Accord. This is the garden homes in the Natchez Trace subdivision. Our home is actually adjacent to the fence and to the ground where the field is. The light, I can show you pictures, are shining directly into our house. We've talked to someone over at the school. They assured us they would adjust that, and it hasn't happened. These poles are over 100 feet tall. They're non-lights on them. You have a picture of it, I think, if you look at your schedule in the back. There are 4 of those, and they're non-lights on each one, and they light up the whole place. I saves me electricity for my yard, because he lights it up for me. But that's not the point. The point is, what has it done to my property value? Now, I have just bought that house a year and a half ago, and most of us are all retirees going there to get a smaller piece of property, and we want to live there with peace and tranquility. Well, I can tell you now, I've talked to real estate agents, my property value has depreciated because of the field and the lights. The field we understood was going to be there. We were told there would be a field, but there'd be no nighttime activity, and there'd be no lights. The lights are there now. I don't know if the lights got permission before they put them up, or is this a story where, it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, so they're asking for forgiveness now. But the lights are definitely a nuisance. We know that the civil code says you cannot infringe upon your neighbor's property, and that if it does, then we have a cause of action, okay? I don't want to go that far. What I want to do is say, as you add the activities they're asking for, as you add the number of stadium seats they're talking about installing, as you add the different parking, the parking which is now going to be adjacent to our property, then you're going to bring the noise in. You're going to bring in enough activity that is going to cause our property values to drop. St. Tammany Parish has a very valuable piece of subdivision there. Just in our section, just in the section with the garden homes that we live in, it's over $9 million worth of property. And you look at the entire subdivision, that subdivision is worth many hundreds of millions of dollars. You can't sell property if it's near a field or a sports entertainment field that creates noise. It affects the entire subdivision, not just us. It affects everyone who lives there, because eventually people's going to say, "I don't want to live next to a stadium," And I don't want to discourage the school from growing, but on the other hand, you have to protect your neighbors too. And the value of the property values are very important to us, especially for us who are retired. And everyone sitting there in that subdivision knows that at some point, the property values go down, and St. Tammany will be losing their tax base. So I tell you, look at this, consider this very seriously before you start expanding it. The parking's going to be a problem. The traffic's going to be a problem. Other schools are probably going to come and want to use that field. So there'll be a lot of people coming into the area that's not there now. Not just this school, but other schools. So that's why I come here more as a person telling you that I'm there, I know what happens, I've seen what happens, I know what's happened to my property, I know what's happened to my tranquility, I know what's going on with my wife. She's going crazy over this and has cried every day about it since the lights been put on. I think we have to give that some consideration besides just thinking about what's out there. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rosalie Bella, and we live at 913 Grand Turk Court. This gentleman has just proposed something that's not even on the agenda for tonight. He's saying that they want to eliminate the traffic for children to be brought off and picked up because Christwood is going to eliminate the street Christwood Boulevard. He said they're going to do that because now they're going to do another entrance into Christwood, which is the property that's right behind the school. If that is in the future planning, why would you want to intrude on a neighborhood to put another road and parking when you can have the access of that Christwood Boulevard at your disposal in the near future? And that's what he just said tonight, and that is nowhere being written or discussed. So I recommend that you delay this decision for now and see where he can go with the property that's adjacent to Christwood Boulevard, in addition to what the other homeowners have said, what's happening in that particular area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in opposition? If not, at this time, I'll close it and move to the rebuttal.
Couple of things just to clarify. On the lighting, the poles are 70 feet tall. I was not involved in the design of it, but some of the information that was provided to me was there was a minimum height and a minimum number of lights used to achieve the foot candles that's required for the field. As I understand, excuse me, the lighting photometrics that were handed out to you are actually as-built photometrics of the site. And the other question about me making reference to the changes to Christwood Boulevard is the plan changes that we've seen would cut off the access to to Christ Episcopal, where they're talking about putting roundabouts and so forth. So the current access to the site would be cut off in the future, But in the interim, the proposed roadway that we're proposing would alleviate any traffic congestion along Christwood Boulevard. So, any other questions?
Thank you. Opposition, you have a 5-minute rebuttal period as well.
Name's Tom Wright, live at 216 Natchez Trace. So my question is for you gentlemen and ladies, it's really about the traffic now. So there's information being introduced about the current traffic state. There's information about what's coming in the future. But quite honestly, when school's in session, hell, there's a cop there in the morning. That's how traffic is backed up. And there are accidents and other issues at the entrance into this facility. So my question for the design team here is these excess parking lots or flow over, bleed over stations, what are they going to be, like a cell phone parking lot at the airport where all this traffic, instead of lining up and the congestion becoming a problem like it currently is going to alleviate that? Or is it strictly for the extracurricular activities of the utilization of this athletic field? Because if it's for the traffic, we get that, and I think we may be sympathetic. But if it's strictly for the supplemental activities of what's going on, along with an as-built that was handed out of your review person going out there last night or last week, but you all getting information 2 hours before us, that's really not quite fair, let's be honest with everybody. We would like at least the opportunity to understand, at least I would, what are the true dynamics of the measurements of the light coming off that facility. I don't think it's a bounce back. You know, you got to come out there in the middle of the night, maybe in the fog. Trust me, anybody that played team sports outside understands you got to have light. We all get that. You living next door, nobody in our subdivision from the real estate side knew we were getting a lighted stadium that's going to continue to grow. That's our concern. More importantly, though, I really would like to know what is the deal with this excess parking. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir. No. Yes.
I just want to clarify one thing, thank you. It's my understanding, I talked to people who have been out to the field, and yeah, the poles are 70 feet up, but they're on a 20-foot mound. So they're actually 90 feet up, which is, you know, and I've seen fields in other schools, and I've never seen anyone with poles that high in my life, you know, and we said, well, we could build a fence, but I have to build a damn hell big fence to get up there. You know, it definitely interferes, and it interferes with the property, and no one seems to want to cooperate with this and try to work it out. So that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? It's time I close it to the public.
One more.
Pardon me? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Dana Calloway, and I live at 950 Grand Turk Court. I live right behind there, and the lights are not a bounce back. They're very, very bright. It has changed the dynamics of my backyard. If I was a teacher, I love kids. I don't mind having the field there. I like children's activities. You know, I wasn't upset when they built that, because I think it's great for kids to have stuff. It's the lighting, people. You know, it has changed our life. It is bright, shining into my living room. If I have something outdoor on my back patio, I can't have it when they're having stuff, because not only is it bright, it's hazy, it's just ugly. It's very disturbing and ugly, okay? And I think someone needs to come out there and see it, see what we have to live through. I bought this house, I paid a lot of money for it. I can't sell it for what I bought it for now, you know. I'm retired. This was supposed to be my tranquil last house. I don't know. I'm very, very disappointed. It's also changed the drainage. People who live on our street constantly have a difference in draining since they built the field, and so that's just it. Somebody needs to come see.
Thank you. Pardon me? This time we close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Loren.
Thank you, Commissioner. They clarify a couple of things. When you live as old as I am, you've been around here a little bit, and you go back and you know the answers to some of the questions that you all asked earlier. Christwood Boulevard from Highway 21, for the commissioners that you've got this in your packet. All right. From Highway 21, it goes into the school, and it services the school's needs, and it also continues around, and it was the original entrance into Christwood Retirement Facility. And when it was originally put in, it was a public road. And some time back, a petition was brought before the commission and the council, and it was approved to turn it back into a private road. Okay? And the intention was that Christwood was going to cut off the entrance to Christwood Retirement Facility. They were going to dead end it down there. And it would only be an entrance into the school. And that's what I think one of the ladies referred to a while ago about not knowing exactly what the plan was. If you'll notice over on East Brewster Road, where they've built the new entrance to Christwood, they built a new elaborate entrance over there by the community center. That's going to become the main entrance. And at some point, Christwood plans to cut off that and make it a dead end. It'll be at their convenience. One of the things we have here is a conflict between two of the finest developments we've got in St. Tammany Parish. Christwood, the retirement center, the school, is an excellent facility. It produces outstanding students. And we also have Natchez Trace, which is one of the finest residential communities, and they butt head to head. And that's where the problem comes in. And I'm going to ask the staff, is it not a matter of the compliance officer to go out and to check the light if they're having a problem in their backyards with too much light?
Well, we have done that, as well as requested as-built photometric. We have not observed the lights at night. That's a fact. We are not opposed to do so. However,
well, I mean, how can you check the lights in the daytime?
They're talking about the shining. They can be a position, but they're talking about where they're shining, actually.
well, we are, the rules and requirements, regulation requires that, a photometric be provided. It was provided. It meets the requirements. Now, if we need to observe that there may be another violation, we will have to, observe it. But at this time, we do not see any violation. And as I said, staff is not opposed to going on the site, after dark to be able to observe.
Commissioner Lauren, any further comment?
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Drum?
I have a question for staff. I've looked over this, and I've listened to everybody with their arguments and 2s and 4s and 3s and 6s and all that stuff. And what in here are we dealing with that we're going to vote for or against with zoning?
This is a conditional, it's a plan review.
This is a plan review. It was originally approved for running track, football field, and tennis court. When a site is located along Highway 21 and there's some improvements, it's required to come back in front of the zoning commission for approval. And in this case, you have improvements because you have the parking lot, the additional access, and the lighting.
Did they come to us about the lighting in the parking lot?
It's coming in front of you right now. The lights were put up beforehand. They applied for an electrical permit.
I can give some insight. I can give some insight to that.
They applied for an electrical permit to put the lighting up. So this is what's developed.
So when they built this court, this running track, originally it was just supposed to be for days, and now they've decided it's going to be at night also? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
And so it's a slam dunk. We've already put it in, we need to put lights on this now, so let's go ahead and do it. Right? So they changed what they were going to use it for originally when they came to us.
Exactly.
And then they tell you after they made the change that this is what we wanted to do with it in the first place.
Correct, yes.
Right?
We're coming forward, they're coming forward with the plans showing the additional improvements, which includes the parking lot, the driveways, and it's also part of it as the lighting.
So did they have to come to us to ask to do this? I'm just asking because I'm ignorant on this.
Well, football lighting is not, or lighting of a field is not prohibited. It's the package of the parking and everything that is coming forward in front of you.
Okay, but, so they're going to put the parking lot in, but we haven't looked at it on the planning side yet, right?
But it's
We don't
coming in
have
front
to.
of the zoning commission right now.
Because it's a plan unit, excuse me,
planned
it's a
corridor.
planned corridor, so it comes back in front of us.
Oh, so they pulled a government thing on us, right? Okay.
Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, I picked up something in the discussion. I think it was a gentleman with the white shirt, Mr. Hanson or something. Anyway, I would question the staff. He said something about wasn't first agreed upon having no lights, no poles. Is there restrictive covenants on that property or something regarding that? Or I know staff wouldn't know about it, but would the homeowners know about it?
When we bought our home.
Gotta come up here. You had mentioned that there wasn't supposed to have any poles.
Yeah, when we
But
bought.
I want to know if there's a legal entity saying that you're not supposed to have any poles.
Well, this I don't know, but I can tell you this. When we bought our home, I talked to 3 of the contractors that contract in Natchez Trace. Each of them have told me that they were assured by the school that there'd be no nighttime activities and there'd be no lights. That's why they were able to buy the house. I wouldn't have bought the house with lights, I guarantee you that.
Is there anything in writing or any kind of
Now,
legal document?
that's going to be between the contractors and the school. I don't really know that. But the school told us that they had it approved by the board of Natchez Trace, and then when we had a board meeting, they said they had no plans brought to them. They didn't didn't have any information of anything else being changed. And so, as far as we were concerned, or knew, from the standpoint of, it might be hearsay, it might not just be a written agreement, but we were told that there'd be no nighttime
Are
activity.
you not aware of any legal documentation?
I'm not aware of that at this time, no, and I wish the contractor would have came, because he is a lawyer, and he could have told us what had happened, you know. And I mean, I spent 39 years on the bench as a criminal judge, so I know about criminal stuff. I can't tell you about the civil stuff. But you know, so if you wanted to kill somebody, I can give you some help. But that's about anyway. But the point is that I understand that there is statutes that we can bring in action because it's infringing upon our tranquility. But we don't want to do that. We're friendly neighbors. We just want you all to tell them they can't do this. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes. Yes. You may not say yay. I am not real happy right now because I was on this commission when we did approve, Ken, all of this, and that was one of the biggest discussions that we had and reservations that we had. I may be wrong and I may be dreaming it, but I am about to the point to table this, and I would like the staff to research the tape in which y'all came up here and we knew we were putting in the trace and we were putting in those homes that close that you were going to put a field there. And I do believe on those tapes that, oh no, it's just going to be for the smaller kids, the indoor, type thing. And I feel like I can't vote for something, it's like someone said, oops, we did it, they're going to have to pass it. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like we should go forward with this until we come up with some resolution. I don't care if the parish says that, oh, they're in compliance. These people are being, they can't live in their own homes and enjoy their own homes that's there now, unless we come up with a solution for both having the lights and them having some kind of protection. I don't know if it's going to come from the parish or from Christ Episcopal to be able to put up some kind of retainer wall like they do on the interstates. These people have some privacy left, but I can't see going forward this and granting them permission to do this until we can rectify or find out what was in the original request and plans. And that's how I feel about it. I'll make a motion to deny. To postpone, excuse me. To postpone. And then I would like staff to research and find the old tapes because they've done that for me before, if you don't mind. If y'all know the number, the old number, and look that up. And I would like to have a copy of those tapes of what they originally requested.
Commissioner Davis.
I will make second that motion to postpone, but let me tell you why.
Commissioner Lauren, I believe, has.
Mr. Warren.
First of all, I'm a little concerned about the request to add recreational field lighting when it's already done.
Yeah.
I don't understand that whole process. They built the lighting before it was even, they were requesting now for the lighting? And
They requested an electrical permit. It is not exactly a violation. They requested a permit. They submitted all the required documents, and an electrical permit was pulled.
No.
As far as, informing us and coming forward, to, bring it up to inform us to light up the plan or to inform the neighbors, they have not done so, or that I'm not aware of.
Okay, so even if it meets requirements, I think it's a good idea to postpone or table for another month, but I would like to have code enforcement go out there at night while the lights are on and review this. Can we?
Invite them to my home?
In all due respect, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
In all due respect.
Thank you, Judge. But
No, excuse me.
we should.
Order, please. The commission will ask whomever they'd like questions. The commission will speak. We've got a lot of input. would ask for your indulgence. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I would like to request that somebody in code enforcement or a person from the planning department to go out there at night when the lights are on and possibly go close to these people's backyards and just look and see what's going on. And then maybe we can make some kind of recommendation to either change, edit, or take them down. I mean, that's just, you know, I'm not saying that's what we should do, but we should at least give the opportunity to see what it looks like at night, because obviously that's the biggest problem. I'm not too interested in the driveways yet. Let's just get this lighting situation done. So I'll second that motion to table.
Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, in our packet, there's a picture of the top of the pole. It's got, let's see, 9 lights on it. And if you look at the top of it, there is a shield over there, and that's to keep the glare from going up and then going all over the place. On these fixtures, there's an aiming device so that when somebody goes up there, they're looking down that aiming device and know where that light is going to hit the field. Okay, and by computer program and everything, they can tell what the foot candles are going to be at that particular point. And then it goes kind of in a circle depending on what the lighting design is, whether it goes in a circle or an egg-shaped pattern as to what the foot candles are going out from that particular point. But in no case, and Helen, you correct me if I'm wrong, the lighting should not go beyond the property line, and I think it's as low as 1/10 of 1 foot candle.
It's correct. However, the standards for a field are a little different than for a commercial parcel of land. But if you look on the as-built, you know, the highest that you have along the property is 0.03. So it's not even a 1-foot candle at the property line.
I don't know. This is the one that was handed out, and I see some points. You're saying 0.3 or 0.03?
0.04. I think that's I mean, you have some along 21 that are higher than that, but if you're looking at the lights of the foot candle that are directly abutting where it says ditch,
Yes.
the highest it's 0.04.
But if it's 0.04, well, I go along with Jimmy. You're going to have to get somebody out there. You can do all the computer programs that you want, but whenever somebody goes out their back door and they have a lot of light spilling over from a facility like this, something's not aimed right, bottom line.
Correct.
And if they have to put some additional shielding on these fixtures, so be it.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Notwithstanding the light issue for a moment, because that is something that needs to be addressed, and I think we're working towards that. The rest of this particular proposal, I have no concerns about. This is a fine facility. It's been a facility at that location. It is a school. I can see why this makes total sense for circulation and parking. My only concern is the lighting. The rest of it, I think, is within reason. I don't want to confuse those issues. I think this commission could probably support that. So the only issue is just that we can get a better handle on the lighting. And once we do that, then maybe we'll be in a position to make a decision.
Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. The only other additional issue besides the lighting is that we have staff recommendation of items 1 through 9, and I just want to make sure that all of those items have been satisfied.
They have not been satisfied, but they will have to be satisfied.
Okay.
That's why we're recommending approval, but to satisfy with all those conditions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Drum.
Helen, I have a question. Someone out there had made a statement earlier that the lights are, let's say, 70 feet like they're supposed to be, but they put them on a 20-foot mound. Is that legal?
It is actually not against our regulation.
But we can restrict the house to be no higher than 35 feet, but if we put it on a 50-foot mound, then is it still illegal?
That's ridiculous.
Well, sir, unfortunately, I cannot compare light poles to the height of the
You're
house.
saying that the parish standard for pole height doesn't matter?
I
What
did not
matter,
say
I
that
mean,
didn't
what doesn't matter is the distance the light is from the ground. It's the size of the pole. So you could put a granite platform underneath them. It's not part of the pole. I could make it 200 feet high if I chose. That's the way the standard is written?
Well, at this time, I was not aware of that situation. I would rather be looking into it a little bit more than to make a statement that would be incorrect.
We would appreciate if you would look into there. Typically, it would be the base of the light to the ground. It should be the specification, not the length of a pole, which is totally subjective. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just to add, the 90, I actually went to the site, and the 90-foot is just the length, the measurement of the concrete where the stadium is. It's not actually on a mound.
Okay. Be interesting to know from the base of the lower light to the ground what the distance would be.
We'll go take additional pictures to make sure.
It appears that the commission, well, just to summarize for right now, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Lauren, specifically is to have a code enforcement officer identify at night, I guess, what the foot candle is, or as well as what the bleeding over, the infringement potentially would be on Natchez Trace. Furthermore, we'd like to know from the base of the light to the ground what that distance might be.
And Commissioner Casabon has requested the tapes. Yeah.
And Commissioner Casabon has requested the previous tapes, with specifically the question being that there would not be any lighting, Commissioner Casabon?
No, that we looked into that in the event. I'm not quite sure, but I felt like, my memories are, I felt like that we were told that it was built for, because at that time, I think y'all started it, y'all have added the grades, since then, which I guess implements the junior high or the high school, because that was one of our questions, was that it would be just a track, indoor, daytime field. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but if I am wrong, I still want it checked out that some other solutions, that if we do accept as a parish these lights that meet the standards, what is some other alternative that we can do for these people that it's not shining and impeding their homes? So I don't know if that's some research into that or something to come up and compromise with.
Thank you for the clarification. And at this time, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote. Motion carries. Is there any old business to come before the commission? Any new business to come before the commission? We are adjourned. Next week's on.